Shalom, Chavarim. I think we're live, right? Man, this new format just goes live as soon as you hit the button. And the other one, there was a failure. And so I'm expecting it to fail, and it doesn't. I'm like, oh, hello, shalom. There you are. You can see me, right? I'm still a little nervous about this new format. I get a woo. I think Louise said woo to me. Was that a woo for me? I don't really know. I hope it's working. Can someone tell me if this is working? Oh, good, we're live. Vanessa, hey, Vanessa in Texas, and Tiffany and Vanessa, my girls in blue. Thank you so much for being obedient to Abba Father. I know it's a joy for you because He puts it in your heart to be here, but I appreciate it so much nonetheless, and I know the whole family does as well. It's just a beautiful, awe-inspiring thing to see those wrenches and know that Abba Father Yahuwah puts His wrench in your hand to do His mighty work in the chat. And welcome to everyone in the chat, newbies and truebies alike, as Alan would say. A couple things I wanted to start with. One is, after a really powerful day of Meltah and sharing with Abba, I was drawn to a song I'd never seen before in my recommended for you feed, and I was drawn to click on it, and I'm glad it was not right before the live stream, because boy, I had to get myself cleaned up with a lot of paper towels going on, and I added it to my playlist on called Seeing the World Through Ruach, or Presence of the Father in You Through His Eyes. And it's presumably a secular song, but boy, did I hear our relationship with our bridegroom in it, and I know you will too. And so as you're led, check that out. In fact, all 3 videos in that playlist I hope you will enjoy in the Ruach, because they've brought me a lot of joy and communion time with Abba Father, with our Elohim. And also, I wanted to talk about the previous live stream. It wasn't the last live stream, unfortunately, but the previous one, because here we are. I really felt in the middle of it that I was literally just saying nothing. And apparently, I was in fact delivering a message on behalf of the Father to your hearts. And one particular comment really spoke to me in that regard and affirmed and confirmed what He's doing. And that was by, actually many of you, by the way, but one in particular stood out by Richard M. I'm just going to read that. Amen. So much of what Abba has revealed and taught me cannot be put into words. I could go on and on and on with what I can put into words, but the things I can't put into words are endless, truly endless. The way that His way seems to fall into place at times when I'd least expect, like when I'm washing clothes or sweeping the floor or putting my shoes on, just pitching my tent. It's like breaking through the weeds and the brush, all that stuff that seems like it's blocking the path, opens up to a clearing. And here's the part where I knew He was really getting it. Like, that was great. But then He said, thanks, caregiver. Thanks for nothing. I got a lot out of it. Shalom to you and all the mishpacha, the family of Elohim. Thanks for nothing, caregiver. I got a lot out of it. That's it. That is getting it. This is not my message. This is not my show. I am nothing, and He is everything. And that it is being received to the point where someone can say, thanks for nothing, I got a lot out of it. I about burst in this. This old wineskin is really getting stretched to capacity. Another sign, I think, that we're about to get new ones. Amen. He doesn't want us to actually burst, but we're right at the edge. So thank you, Richard, for just sharing what the Father laid on your heart to share. That really encouraged me and showed me, yes, this, what you think is happening, and they are getting it from me. Not me, that me. He was speaking to me. You knew what I meant. Oh, I see all the amens. Hallelujah. Yes, Tiffany says, new skins, please. We're going to burst, right? I mean, we're starting to leak at the seams. Wine's dripping all over. We're going to wipe it up all the time. And speaking of which, this Graven images, I have to admit I almost skipped because I thought, oh my goodness, we've already covered this 1,000 times. Alan said it all. And something the Father said to me through Tiffany maybe a week ago or so stood out in my mind. And she said, you know, I think we're going to find really intense treasures in these studies, even the ones we don't think we need to cover again. And I thought, oh my gosh, that was a warning for me today. Don't skip this one. And bam, this morning, it came to me. This message is much bigger than graven images. It's about idolatry. And the Father told me this phrase. I had to write it down. Graven images are physical manifestations of spiritual idols. And then he shared with me, but they're not the only manifestations of idols. It doesn't have to be a graven image, a carved, statue, to be a manifestation of an idol. And then he strangely, in verse, took me to the parable of the 10 maidens. So I'm going to read that because we're going to go from there where he took me. These live streams really are a repeat of a journey the Father has taken me on. Usually that day, while, as Richard pointed out, doing laundry, sweeping the floor, doing the dishes, he takes me on this journey, and then I share where we went with you. So the terrible, I was reading 10 in parable, and I'm dyslexic. So anyway, the parable of the 10 bridesmaids. This is Matthew 25, 1 through 13. The kingdom of the Shamayim, heaven, will be like this. 10 bridesmaids took their lamps. Their lamps were lit. They were all believers. And went to meet the bridegroom. 5 of them were foolish, and 5 were wise. When the foolish took their lamps, they took no oil with them. Presumably they didn't have any to take. But the wise took flasks of oil with their lamps, because they had it to take. As the bridegroom was delayed, all of them became drowsy and slept. But at midnight there was a shout, "Look, here's the bridegroom, come out to meet him." Then all the bridesmaids got up, trimmed their lamps, and went out to meet him. The foolish said to the wise, "Give us some of your oil, for our lamps are going out." But the wise replied, "No, there will not be enough for you and for us. You'd better go to the dealers and buy some for yourselves." And while they went to buy it, the bridegroom came, and those who were ready went with him into the banquet, and the door was shut. Later, the other bridesmaids, the believers who had their lamps lit but no presence of the Father filling them, also came, saying, Master, Master, open the door to us. But he replied, truly I tell you, I do not know you. Keep awake, therefore, for you know neither the day nor the hour. You know, they thought they were ready. They were Christians. They had their lamp lit. And no presence, no presence of the Father, no oil. And they were caught off guard, and the door was shut. And, you know, he took me to other places where the word is clear that Christians will be left behind. We don't like it, but his word isn't about what we like. It's about the truth. You know, it says, Master, you know, didn't we do all these things in your name? Didn't we cast out demons? Didn't we heal the sick? Weren't we good Christians? And yet, what happened? You know, he talks about this in the letters to all the churches. He says, you've forgotten your first love. You think you're clothed, but you're naked. You have your gold somewhere else. You didn't buy it from me. You know, it's not all good. It's not all, everybody who's ever prayed the prayer gets sucked up in the vacuum of the rapture. It's a wedding. So something is wrong. And even Enoch talks about the two groups of believers, those who basically the wise ones with the oil, and those who are left behind banging on the door saying, hello, what happened? And this idolatry message came to me to explain as confirmation to the wise ones that will go, that haven't gone yet, but also as an explanation. Because once those who are going are gone, there won't be anyone here to explain what happened, because they won't know. They'll all be in group 2. There won't be group 1 and group 2 mingled together anymore. Everyone in group 2 banging on the door saying what happened, well, no one in that group is going to be able to tell anyone else in the group what happened. So the Father, as uncomfortable as it may be for me, that's why I feel my cheeks hot. But he told me what will have happened. And this will go out to them after group 1 is gone. And the good news is they can receive the good news. They can receive the oil. They will have gone to the dealers and gotten oil. That's a part of the parable we miss. They have oil. It's just that they were too late getting to the open door. The door closed, but they have oil. That's the outpouring of the Ruach. But they won't have anyone to explain at the beginning unless I do this. So he gave me this message that the biggest form of idolatry is what we've been talking about. Scripture and commentaries and teachers without the Ruach, without the oil. That, you know, Alan always encouraged everyone strongly, pray first. Ask the Father for understanding before you come to the live stream, or read the Word, or go to any teacher, or read any book. Go to him and ask for understanding, because otherwise you won't hear blah, blah, blah. It won't sound confusing to you. Here's the deal. You'll be tricked by your brain's understanding of the words to think you've received something you don't have. It's digging around, trying to put it together, and you can put things together. An atheist can actually write a great essay. They can read John 10 and write an essay about what it says, and in fact present a great sermon on it. And one person in hearing it, they've prayed, Abba, if you have something for me today, I want it. I want your hidden knowledge. I want the words to cause you to teach me. And that person can receive from the pulpit, whoever's in it, and receive hidden knowledge from the Ruach that obviously the person who put it together didn't have. But the person next to them didn't ask the Father for hidden understanding, for his wisdom, and said, I'm going to listen to this, and I'm going to get it, and I'm going to get a lot out of it, and I'm going to say, great job. And they sit and they think they have it because their brains processed the words, and it's the Bible, so obviously that's it. And though that one is wise and one is unwise, and they look exactly the same, and you can't tell the difference, and you can't tell the one that heard and understood that they didn't receive. A, you don't know, and B, they're not going to believe you. And I know because that was me for most of my walk. Now, he used that to his edification for now. Like, if I hadn't done that, how could I explain this? How could I have the words? He calls to remembrance the things he wants me to say. And it's somewhat embarrassing to me as a human to say that if someone had pointed out to me, I don't sense you have the oil, true understanding, I would argue with them in good faith, so to speak, no pun intended, that of course I understand, and I could explain all about it. I could probably explain it better than the person in the pulpit, frankly, and I would try to convince them and show them that, yes, of course I understand. So it's a very subtle difference on the outside. But on the inside, that's where the stark difference is. That you can have two people who have only read the exact same scriptures at the exact same time, only read the same books, only saw the same teachings, and one is overflowing with oil in the presence of the Ruach and the understanding he's given them, and the other thinks they do. And that separation is coming. Those who thought they did, and they will bang on the door and say, Master, Master, open the door for us. I watched all the same things he or she did. I read all the same books. I spent all the same time in the scriptures reading the same ones. I agreed. What happened? And he's going to say, I didn't know you. I wasn't intimate with you because you didn't invite me to be intimate with you. And so you had a head knowledge and didn't know the difference. You were unwise. You chose poorly to do it yourself. And you didn't know what you didn't know. But like I said, the outpouring will be there. These videos will be out there that Tiffany's doing in the audio that supports. I mean, we're supporting each other without realizing it, because the Father is putting together this message of what Yeshua meant when he said, buy your gold from me, refined in the fire. Don't go to other sources. Don't go to yourself. Don't lean on your own understanding. I'm expecting that those in the Ruach have heard many scriptures that the Ruach has brought to mind as I'm speaking. That happens to me, so I know it happens to you. I'm not anything special. I'm just someone for whatever reason, he chose to reveal himself to me in new ways, and he didn't leave me sitting there thinking I had something I didn't have forever. I just asked him, "Are you really real? Please reveal yourself to me." So the other scripture he took me to in this study was, the one that says, 2 in the field, one will be taken and one will be left. And he took me deeper to that picture. The 2 in the field are doing the same thing. 2 grinding, 1 taken and 1 left. They're doing the same thing. They're focused on the same thing, but they're not the same. 1 is wise and 1 is unwise. But two girls going around the millstone grinding grain, they look exactly the same. They're doing the same thing. They're focused on the same thing. 2 on the couch watching the same teaching. 1 receiving from the Ruach, 1 processing it themselves, leaning on their own understanding, but they look exactly the same. 1 has oil and is wise and has the hidden knowledge of the Ruach, and 1 doesn't. Every pair he talks about, they're doing and looking exactly the same. So those who are left behind and banging on the door, you leaned on your own understanding, but it's not too late. If you're receiving this now and you're on your knees saying, "Daddy, why? Why didn't I ask for your knowledge? Why did I lean on my own?" He's got you. He will open up to you. The word is clear that those who knock, it will be open to them. Those who seek will find. He doesn't want you to perish. It's not too late. Invite the Ruach to fill you now. And ask him to make his thoughts your thoughts. And to teach you himself. Other teachers will spring up. They'll spring up everywhere. Avoid the temptation to latch on to whoever's yakking and ask the Father to be your only teacher. The word says he is our only teacher, and he will do what you ask. He will put that desire in your heart. If you feel that desire, he put it there, and he will fill it. Well, he's telling me that's the whole message. I was going to look at my notes to see if there's anything else, but he already told me there isn't. So I'm going to turn to the chat. That was a difficult message to deliver. So, whew. He told me someone needs to tell them. And it's going to be you, little girl. Do we have any questions? Amen, Lonnie. Lonnie says, "I'm getting it." Amen. I know. I read your comments. They're beautiful. Oh, it's Vanessa. Hold on. Here we go. Shalom.
Shalom, sis. Amen, amen, amen. Woo!
Woo! Good, you gave me a paper towel break. Go ahead.
The Ruach just wanted me to remind, this was a reminder for myself as well. We all get in our thoughts that, when we see others who are believers, and that's the thing too, listen to what Abba's having caregivers say. The other group, it's not that they're not believers. They believe there's a Messiah. They believe in Yeshua. They believe he's the son of Yahweh. But they didn't have that hidden knowledge. There's a difference there. Now, the key is, we don't do the dividing. When the maidens who had the oil was asked by the other group, oh, give us some of your oil, they didn't say, you can't have none of our oil. Ha ha, well, that means you can't go. No. They wisely said, go get your own oil. They didn't know that Yeshua was going to close the door and not let them in.
Right.
They just said, go get some. Go get some more from the dealers. We have what was meant for us.
Yeah, that's true. Oh my gosh, I
And
never saw that. What a melta.
They went in the door that was opened, and Yeshua shut the door. Yeshua, when he talked to the other group, Yeshua said, I didn't know you. He didn't look back and say, do you guys know these people? He said, I never knew you. Okay, you have oil, but that didn't come from me. You got that from the dealers. That's not what I gave you. That's not what I had for you. And he shut the door. Yeshua does the dividing. We don't. Therefore, it goes back to Alan. I think he made a video a long time ago about these basically different cults or whatever. And I can't remember the name of the video, but I remember him saying, you know that you're in a cult or when you're in a religious man-made organization, because the first thing they tell you is you have to separate yourself. You have to divide yourself. Now, nowhere growing up do I remember, and I could be wrong, I don't think so, because this is the Ruach talking here, that I remember saying, when you meet people, pray to see if, Abba or Jehovah or whoever you grew up calling him at the time, that, they are intimate with him, that they have a relationship with him too. Basically, seek the Father first. Never. I was told they don't go to this church. No, they don't go to this church, so you don't need to be hanging around them. That's not a Jehovah's Witness. You don't need to talk to them. They're not. Nowhere in the Word does it say that. We seek the Father, and He will show us who is meant for us. But once as you're growing and being filled with the Ruach, it gets easier and easier to see who's not for Him. Now, do you go out and, use your common sense? And of course, we've talked about this before. If you're at work or you have a neighbor or family members, of course you have to associate on some level. Of course. But does that mean that if Abba has a plan for them intimately or not? Nope. We don't know. And that goes back to Yeshua doing the dividing. I'm sorry, I'm getting choked up. I guess that's him saying that's it.
Is it him saying that's it?
I think so. But yes, that's the main key is he does it, we don't do it.
He does all the work. Amen.
Amen.
Yeah.
And the major point, not only does he do the dividing, but it doesn't mean that the other group, because I saw a comment in the chat, are not believers, that they don't believe. I think it's very important, the points that you and Tiffany have been hitting on, and we all three have been hitting on in our private discussions about this hidden knowledge. It comes from Abba only.
Right.
And that's what's so beautiful. I love you, sis.
I love you too. Shalom.
Shalom.
Oh, thank you so much, Vanessa. He adds so much to these fellowships when you call in. Let's see. We have Maria as a question. Am I implying the ones who are left are going to have to go through the trib? Yeah, the door is the rapture. And when the door is shut, it's shut. So talk to the Father about that if you don't understand. Again, that's the theme. If you don't understand, go to the Father. He'll tell you. Yep, that's the part we don't like. But when Yeshua says, I'm about to vomit you out of my mouth, that really doesn't sound like a synonym phrase for I'm about to marry you. Vomit you, marry you. No. don't like it, but there it is. Okay, let's see. Do we have any more questions? Yes, Marie says, I always thought the oil was the presence of the Father. It's the presence of the Father, which is the Ruach HaKodesh. How can one give it away? You can't. That's the idea. Actually, go back and read yourself and Matthew 25, 1 through 13, and ask the Father to reveal to you what it means. It says, it answers your questions. It won't answer your questions if you try to read it and figure it out. I'm going to sit down, read this, and find the answers. You won't. You'll end up more confused than when you started. But ask the Father to reveal to you what he's saying in the parable through Yeshua. And then you'll know. These are great questions. They exemplify the teaching. Okay, I don't see any more questions. So let's bow our hearts and thank Abba Father for another precious time together. Abba Father, Yahweh, we come before you humbly and thankfully that you've chosen us for your people, that you want us to receive your thoughts, that they become our thoughts. And like King David said, it's too lofty for us to even consider. And sometimes we really feel like these old wineskins are gonna burst. But we praise you and we thank you for filling us to overflowing. And that at the point we're really gonna burst, you'll give us new wineskins. We're really looking forward to it. Father, we thank you for teaching us as empty vessels that are willing to be filled up by you and emptied out of ourselves. Continue to work in Tiffany, and as you get this message out that you're working on in her, Father, we're looking forward to it. We know you have a lot to teach us by what she's receiving now from you. Help her put it together and get it out there. We know time is short. You've given us a gut sense, and we appreciate how you speak to us. It's like nothing else. We thank you and we praise you in Yahweh, through Yeshua, and all the called out ones said, Amen. And until next time, Chavarim, my friends, Shalom. See you again, either here or there.